Okay. So it is Sunday, September 8th. It is the beginning of the church year at the Unitarian Church of Montreal. It is Water Communion Sunday, and it is also known as Incoming Sunday. It's the first Sunday where members of the church come back after their summer holidays for the first service that's conducted by the minister of the church. This is a common practice in many Unitarian Universalist congregations where they basically shut down for the summer. They have either no services at all, or they have lay-led Sunday services. So that's that. They're on their way back, and I'm starting a fresh season of protest here. Good morning, Aurelie. Oh, have a good one. Oh, you're walking. Yeah. Tiptoe through the slogans. And yes, this is a fellow who in the past has stolen my picket signs, belligerently yelled at me and so on. So he gets to walk through my chalk slogans here. Aurelian Guillery is his name, interior decorator. So yeah, this is a little upside down, so we shall just walk through and come back the other way and read out the signs. So, Unitarians affirm and promote abuse of clergy. Well, can't get much more clear than that. And in fact, Unitarian Universalists do literally affirm and literally promote clergy who are abusive in various ways. That includes clergy who are guilty of various kinds of clergy sexual misconduct, but it also includes Unitarian Universalist clergy who are verbally and psychologically abusive, physically abusive, perhaps meting out corporal punishment to kids from the church and so on. And yet they still manage to get affirmed when people complain. The church says, oh no, they did nothing wrong. And they get promoted, literally promoted in terms of higher ranking in the church and so on. In fact, some Unitarian Universalist clergy who were guilty of clergy sexual misconduct have been promoted all the way to UUA president. I won't name any names right now, but it is a fact that a certain number of Unitarian Universalist Association presidents have had clergy sexual misconduct complaints brought against them, and if they haven't been brushed aside, they haven't been dealt with very well, and they have managed, to continue up the ladder to president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So we got some people walking through here, and we should just walk down the other end here and then walk back. So, justice for UU clergy abuse victims now. For a long time, the UUA has promised restorative justice for all. That's an exact quote from their claims on their website and so on, claims that they've made publicly. They've promised restorative justice for all clergy sexual misconduct. So they haven't promised restorative justice for victims of non-sexual clergy misconduct, but they have promised restorative justice for every victim of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, clergy misconduct, clergy sexual misconduct. And yet, when I speak to Unitarian Universalist ministers, please note the plural here, who know what UUA has actually done or not, and when I speak to lay people, including victims of clergy sexual misconduct, about whether or not the UUA has actually provided any genuine restorative justice for clergy abuse victims, clergy sexual abuse victims, the answer is no. In fact, that is, in one case, I spoke with a Unitarian Universalist minister who's probably one of the top experts in this field, and I asked this minister, if they were aware of any I actually know what I said was this, because I'm trying to be very accurate here. I asked them how much restorative justice has actually been provided to victims of clergy sexual misconduct, and they answered one word, one four-letter word: none. Now, that might be exaggerating a little bit. I can't imagine that no UU clergy sexual abuse victim never received any restorative justice of any kind, but the fact that this minister, who's very, very well informed about Unitarian Universalist clergy sexual misconduct and no doubt other forms of misconduct, says that none has been provided, I think that sort of says that very little restorative justice has been provided to Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse victims, and again, specifically sexual abuse, because they didn't even promise any restorative justice to victims of non-sexual clergy misconduct. It was only made to clergy sexual misconduct victims. And as I've pointed out to certain Unitarian Universalist ministers, the fact of the matter is that some forms of non-sexual clergy misconduct are actually of a more serious nature than some of the lower level forms of clergy sexual misconduct. So what I'm getting at here is that, there's low-end clergy sexual misconduct. Let's say a minister groping a female congregant without her consent and so on. Now, these days, even with her consent, he or she wouldn't be allowed to do that. But the point being is, like groping is basically the low end of clergy sexual misconduct. Making unwanted sexual comments and so on is the low end of clergy sexual misconduct. The upper end is rape and pedophilia involving rape. And then there may be some other, but that's just one example, Well, what I'm saying is that some of the more serious forms of non-sexual clergy misconduct are actually more harmful to the victim than, let's say, a minister groped them or made unwanted sexual advances and so on. On that note, we're winding up this clip that went a bit longer than I was planning.